The stars really do need to align for her, though, and it's possible, but it's hard. Number one, there needs to be a late breaking of independence in her direction, sizable. So we talk about late breakers, right, Megyn, which is like, okay, people in the middle that have no idea how they're going to vote to Election Day, which way are they going to tilt? If they tilt 50-50, it's not going to be great for her. She needs to win those like 65-40, 65-35, almost 70-30. So that's number one. Number two, that she needs there to be a quiet pro-abortion vote that nobody is detecting in the polling. Now, I could tell you, I don't think that exists because I have now done well over 20 campus stops, Megyn. And as I do them, well, thousands of kids attend. We had 5,000 University of Georgia. You can usually tell, are there any counter protests? There's like 4 or 5 people maybe. So the energy and the spirit on that topic is there for the base, but I think it really tapers off and plateaus beyond that. She also then needs to have massive female turnout, and she needs to win like 70% of the female vote in battleground states. That is going to be very difficult for her, but it's possible. And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating where this wife is you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, and have a nice life and provides for the family. And then she lies to him saying, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands. And do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling. So that's something they're counting on. And if that's correct, that speaks for much deeper moral decay of the country, Megyn, than anything that politics could ever solve, right?
But should we really be surprised? Kamala Harris is married to a man who has been credibly accused, to use the left's favorite term, as a woman beater. Okay, that's who she married. And she won't comment on it. His denial was a non-denial denial. The report is untrue. And then went on to offer character evidence of how he would never strike a woman. The woman went on the record anonymously, but with a great detail with the Daily Mail about what happened to her when he wailed her across the face for no reason. They weren't even fighting. This is a year before he started up with Kamala. This is an ancient history. So then, by Doug Emhoff's own account, when Kamala Harris was elevated to the position of nominee the day Joe Biden dropped out, she couldn't find Emhoff. He was in a spin class, whatever. And when she finally got him on the phone, her first response was, "Where the F were you?" Something I have literally never uttered to Doug in the 18 years we've been together. I don't speak to my husband, who I love and adore, like that, nor does he speak to me like that. We have a respectful, loving relationship. And so it doesn't surprise me that she and her team would come up with, let's do something that talks about dishonesty and division in a marriage where someone betrays the other. And that's totally normal. That they don't have the kind of marriage where they can just be honest about their political differences. The wife must lie to her husband, the father of her children, in order to support me, Kamala Harris.
It is really, it's demented. And just to be clear, they are promoting, I don't want to say infidelity because that's not fair to say, but it's a form of, it's dishonesty. A form of marital that's exactly right. There's a form of marital dishonesty. So Kamala Harris's path to the White House is marital subversion. That's a better way to say it. Is that if Kamala Harris were to win, there would be widespread marital subversion. I want everyone to understand that. If you're on the fence about voting, Kamala Harris wants to get power so badly. She wants to turn wives against husbands and think that's like cool and does a television advertisement against it.
Let's watch
it. They're bragging about this. Yes, please.
Stand by.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose.
They're at a polling station.
You can vote any way you want.
Looking at Trump
and no one
Harris.
will ever know.
The two women are looking at each other.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth.
Oh my God. And then not for, just for good measure, they make the male Trump supporter look like a complete doofus.
Of course, obviously. And it's just, this is the state of the Democrat Party, which is like, oh, yeah, your husband is dumb and an imbecile. Doesn't matter if he works his tail off to make sure the mortgage is paid and the bills are paid and is a good father to the kids. But when it comes to Kamala Harris, subvert, because that matters more. And so they think that's going to happen at scale. They've said that, not as explicitly as that advertisement, but Jen O'Malley Dillon, or whatever her name is, the rocket scientist running her campaign, has said, we think there's a quiet suburban woman vote of people that will not be detected in the data versus the household, is what they say. They're much more polite, as the campaign. And then finally, they believe that this is the more unusual one, which is just going to be really hard to believe. Again, I'm not discounting it because anything is possible with this stuff, but they're counting on Democrats changing their voting habits and showing up big on Election Day. That would be interesting, honestly. That would be quite remarkable. We don't see any data with that because right now the early voting numbers are favoring Republicans in many of the swing states. In fact, Republicans and Democrats are almost even in early voting nationally. So Kamala Harris needs a lot of those things to kind of align. She's underwater on every issue except abortion. She's underwater on capacity to lead and serve, underwater even on likability and favorability. And so what is her closing message? Call the opposition fascists and Nazis. I will say for people in the middle, moderates, they tell pollsters they are repulsed with that kind of language and that kind of rhetoric, which again, they used to be, oh, Donald Trump is raising the rhetoric. By the way, you're a bunch of Nazis. Moderate swing voters do not like that at all. And so I can't imagine that is going to be persuasive. But
no, Charlie, there's backup for that. Not only did we hear a report earlier this week from Dan Turrentine, who's on two-way with Halperin, that the messaging had gone out in the swing states to the lower ticket politicians, like those running for U.S. Senate, lower than president. You don't have to follow that. You don't have to do what she's doing. And there's some data to suggest you shouldn't do what she's doing. But just this morning on the Daily, they reported the same, that their testing in the Democrat circles is showing that's not working. That the people don't like it. It's not a good closing message, which is why they think she was going to try. They taped it before last night's speech to be more uplifting in her speech yesterday. But I mean, how do you spend weeks saying they're Nazis, they're fascists, they're Hitler, and then say, rainbows, unicorns, yay, follow me.
No, but hold on. This is very important. Let's play this out. This is how sick and dishonest. Okay, so Kamala, you're going to allow a Nazi a seat at the table to help you decide policy? Do you actually believe the crap you're spewing? Are you going to go bring a bunch of Nazis and unite the country with them? No, which one is it, Kamala? That you want an uplifting future or that half the country are worthy of extermination? Like, I love when they say, I'm going to put a Trump supporter in my cabinet. Wow. Which one? Goebbels? Reichman? You call all of us as the worst people on the history of the planet. And then all of a sudden you want to bridge together the super PAC that Kamala Harris that super PAC that is outside of her campaign
supporting
has basically said, they said in the New York Times, stop doing this. The data is bad. Do not do this. And so, Megyn, what I think is happening, and I don't have any evidence of this, and I hope I'm correct, is that I think it's a bunch of young zealots that are in the Kamala Harris campaign that are high in their own supply, that are like, just call them what we all know what they are. Give us the red meat that we deserve. And they're trying to also boost Democrat turnout because their Democrat turnout is not there like it was in 2020 proportionally. So they have simultaneous problems going right now. And again, I think it's a dark chapter of American history that we have to enter, and we have to even be talking about this. Donald Trump gets called all the worst names imaginable. I do not know any instance where Donald Trump called half the country garbage or trash. Instead, he tries to win over their vote. He says, come on and support me, and our movement is better, and here's why.
Nor has he referred to all Kamala supporters or the left as the enemy from within. That's not how he's using that term. He's using that to describe the people who stole his first term from him by the Russia hoax and the BS impeachment.
And also shot him.
The constant undermining, and the people who shot him, the people who have made it their mission to try to get him impeached or indicted and unleash lawfare against him. Every sane person gets that. But it's been amazing how the media has just refused entirely to even try to stay factual on what he actually said. And they're the ones, too, who want to hear the fascist lines. I mean, Mika Brzezinski was on The View the other day, almost crying about what a fascist Donald Trump was. I was saying this to my friend Paul Murray, who's in Australia on Sky News. Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough did more than anybody to get Donald Trump elected the first time back in 2016. They licked the man's boots. It was truly almost R-rated what happened on that show every morning with Donald Trump, what the three of them were doing. They were in a threesome with Donald Trump. And then suddenly now she wants this, she's like, oh my God, I was in a threesome with Hitler. I had no idea. Like, it's just so obvious and it's transparent. And I do think it's one of the reasons why it isn't working. But for me, it all comes back to, and we'll drop this in later for the YouTube audience. There was that shot behind the scenes of the Karine Jean-Pierre staff, the comm staff at the White House. And it was your worst nightmare of like all DEI hires. Like these young women who looked like they were about 14, with all due respect to 14-year-old women. They should not be deciding White House messaging. Every, racial group, whatever. It was very clear they were looking for a panoply of colors and sexes and blah, blah, blah. And there's zero chance these people had enough life experience to actually be running White House comms and coming up with messaging on the most serious issues of our time. And I guarantee you, those are the people who've transferred over to her, or her team looks exactly like that.
100%.
And they're deciding Hitler's the way to go. Fashion's the way, where they don't understand these middle Americans who are perhaps a little bit more mature, have had some life experience, have lived through a bunch of elections where these kinds of terms get thrown around about Republicans only, and they don't believe this crap.
That's right. And I think the revolutionaries that are within Kamala's campaign have taken over the messaging. And again, if I end up being wrong and Kamala Harris wins this election a week from today, and I'll say, wow, I guess that's the way you get power in this country. You just declare war on the other half you don't like. It would be a first in American history, right? I mean, that you can assume power by just saying the other half of the country is the worst thing imaginable. But I just, my instinct and my gut, and I'm not alone, a lot of other Democrats are saying it. And to the Young Turks' credit, again, I think at times they're a little bit clownish, and they certainly attack me all the time on YouTube. However, I get along with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Unger, or whatever his name is. And they've been tweeting out, being like, guys, this is how you lose an election. I mean, to their credit, they've been incredibly intellectually honest on Twitter, saying, what are you doing, guys? Like, they're like, this is the stupidest thing that you could possibly be doing 7 days out from an election for no other reason, and this is their words, that you're just giving more motivation for Republicans like myself to go get more family members to go vote. You're just giving more ammunition for the base of the party to work harder, because we think it is a survival election now.
And because you can see these people hate me. They don't just disagree with me.
Yes.
They hate me. And so it's just like watching CNN, the same way you feel. She just responded. Kamala Harris just weighed in on Garbage Gate. Let's take a listen.
Have you spoken to President Biden since his comment last night about garbage?
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. That is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously.
Have you spoken to him about?
Takes it very seriously. Take it up with your vice president. If you're feeling tired of the same old coffee from the big mega corporations pushing their woke agendas, listen up. It's time to take a stand and to support a brand that truly embodies American values, Blackout Coffee. They stand with hardworking Americans who believe in family, faith, and freedom. And they roast some of the most incredible coffee you will ever taste using only premium grade beans, roasted and shipped to you within 48 hours. And for the cold brew fans, Blackout Coffee is excited to announce the launch of their 2 new ready-to-drink cold brew coffee latte options. Don't settle for less. Make the switch to Blackout Coffee. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com/MK or use the code MK for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/MK. The code is MK. Join the movement. Taste the difference. Remember, with every sip, you are supporting a brand that stands for America. Be awake, not woke. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.